From where does imagination come? What is its purpose? How can imagination be understood as part of human experience? I'm a teaching artist who has worked with several art organizations in Los Angeles, like the J. Paul Getty Museum and Inner City Arts. I've developed curriculum and taught for over 15 years. The field has provided me and many of my colleagues an outlet to engage in supporting creative thinking with our city's urban youth and investigating what can be understood of the processes which make a person creative. I want to shed light on how teaching artistry is a complex profession bridged by creative and pedagogical knowledge. It is also a vehicle of research into human expression and relationships. So I want to share with you just a quick story about what that means or has meant for me. When I first began my studies within the field of psychology and creativity, I was fully invested in understanding what it takes to be a creative person in the 21st century. In my master's thesis, I wanted to investigate those psychological blocks that prevent individuals from their own creativity, such as the fear of failure or negative self-talk. These barriers that are experienced as challenges to being present and really stepping into a state of creative flow, and are experienced by adults in as much as they are experienced by children. After I finished that thesis and moved into my dissertation, my slate was open to new content in the way that an artist might look at a blank canvas with only a subtle concept of what she would create. What do I envision in the next body of work? What inspires me? What feels unknown? There was one day of teaching that linked multiple ideas for me. I'd been teaching a story to a group of first-grade children on a little girl named Gypsy who goes on an adventure with her little pal Piglet, circa the 1910s in a small town in Mexico. The story takes place over many sessions, and students bring it to life through performance and visual art. The main character finds a key, which subsequently takes her on this journey to realizing she is an actor and could transform into anything. Toward the end of the story, they learn that the key represents the key of imagination, which unlocked this character's greatest talent and passion to be an actor. At the end of the story, and on this one particular day, I just asked the students, where does imagination come from? This is not a question I'd ever asked before, and in some way I was kind of like, why am I even asking it today? But I'm so glad I did, because I got the most curious responses from the students. Many students shared that imagination is like a dream state, yet one is awake. Others referred to visual processing when they explained that it was a fun place to visit when you close your eyes. A parent in the room shouted, I think that's visualization. That kid wants to say visualization. When asked where the imagination is located, if it could even be located anywhere, many students called out and pointed to their brain, indicating that imagination lives in the brain. Another student explained that imagination lives in the heart, yet it is a bridge linking the heart to the brain. A final student referred, quite seriously, to the imagination having originated from another dimension, one outside of people, and that it could possibly come from outside of the galaxy. Well, this got me thinking. This got me really inspired and fascinated to investigate. What is imagination? What's its link to creativity? This key to the imagination that I had explored with my students in the context of a story had now inspired something in me as a teaching artist, something new, something that needed to be unlocked. There began the inspiration to research imagination that one day in the art studio. Since then, I've discovered many things in my research on imagination. What I propose is that imagination is a subjective experience that most individuals can speak of. It can be characterized by intrapersonal and interpersonal features, which means that imagination occurs within a person and between people. Through research, I came to understand that imagination can be seen in many aspects of human evolution and development. It is manifested through perception, cognition, consciousness, and altered states of consciousness, including dreams. It is experienced through the containers of human relationships expressed in language, both verbal and nonverbal, and in the act of play, creative art forms, tools of mass media and communication technology. One of the most significant discoveries has been to learn that imagination is a relational tool that can increase empathy when linked with reflective experiences through the arts. Throughout childhood to later stages of development, we use imagination to increase awareness of self, others, and the world at large. I refer to this process as the developing imagination to denote how humans grow in conjunction with this faculty. As my research argues, imagination is an imperative aspect of human experience and is therefore critical to the advancement of learning. If so, and if I had longer to argue in what ways this is possible, could knowing this positively influence the ways that we advocate arts education? And could it help advocate the role of teaching artists as researcher? The process to discovering research is in effect a creative one. For me, I've had to continue to source personal inspiration as material, visualize and add to my mental imaging, and there's always lots of rewriting. Yet the most important discoveries for me have been a result of continually processing and being inspired by my students. The art studio would be empty space without the relationship between teaching artists and students functioning as a vessel for imagination. When art practice is applied, that is when we have creativity. Artists who dedicate their professional life to teaching youth also invest their efforts toward continued research in both their art form, pedagogy, and inner self. As we ask of our students those guiding questions to reveal innovative thought, so too is the artist, teacher, researcher also requested to look deeper into themselves, to wonder what their imagination has to offer, and how can their art studio become the greatest conduit of that human expression and relational tool. So I ask of you, from where does your imagination come? What is its purpose? How could it support the experience of you and all of us being human? Thank you.